Hi, mates. Welcome back. Hope everybody's doing well. Missed everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Doing a quick video here because I've gotten a lot of messages and I've been on the phone with a lot of people because now is the time. I know it's the summer rut right now, but if you're up where I am, the upper Potomac is just prime right now for wade fishing and kayak. If you're willing to, wade fish with your kayak tethered to you, it's just an awesome time. We got some videos that are going to drop from a couple of the locks here on the upper Potomac. Like I said, the water level is like 2 feet, 2.2 feet in a lot of places. You can get to so many places on the river right now. And so I've gotten a lot of questions as to what's going on with the smallies because it's a numbers game. It really is. I said in a previous video, check it out. Look for the Pennyfield Lock area video on YouTube, depending on where you're finding this video. It'll show you the map of Pennyfield Lock and the upper Potomac of the area I'm talking about. Harris Island, Watkins, get a bunch of little islands all there. You can hit them all, man, if you're in a kayak. It's just a lot of fun. But again, it's a numbers game. There are some 17s. Caught 1 or 2 17s, but I know a lot of people that have caught more 16s and up on the Virginia side and down towards Great Falls, down towards Algonquin and all that down there, I guess. And so, I mean, but for me, I kind of stay towards the Maryland side because it's a lot easier. You've got the Harris Island kind of goes down from Pennyfield on the way to Swain's Lock. You've got to kind of go up to the old canal, kind of do a U and then come down. It makes it a little bit longer day, and getting back over. Or unless you want to cut through, the island, which I don't recommend with because it's a lot of dense vegetation and down trees where they get collected from the floods and all that stuff. So it's, just easier to stay towards the Maryland side of all that going down, or going up and fishing below the canal, the old dam, fishing below that. That's always really, really productive for numbers, especially if you're taking a kid fishing. Really great experience. And ultimately, it's like, it's the summer rut. So what are the smallies biting right now? And for me, predominantly 80% of the catches are all coming on downsized, lighter baits. Okay? Until the water level begins to rise again on the upper Potomac. And I have less experience, in all honesty, compared to the upper Potomac and the Shenandoah than I do the Susky, though I do fish the Susky quite a bit. Just not all the different sections and stages of the Susky that I just don't have that much experience on. But for the upper Potomac, when that water starts to rise again, and we'll get some rains or whatever like that, it'll rise again. That's when you're going to change your baits, okay? That's where you're going to go maybe to a larger, in my opinion, ploppers, spinner bait, all of that stuff for me. These are my experience. Your river may be different. But when the upper Potomac gets below 2.8 to 2.5 feet, these fish are skitty. They just are like, they're skittish. And it's like you plop that heavier weighted item into that contact in the water. When the water is this low, you can literally see them scatter. Okay, if they have no interest in whatever, they're just skittish. And so you want to use lighter bait. Let the flow of the current work in your favor. Bring it down for them to ambush. That seems to be the most effective thing right now. Again, it's 80s to 90s. It was 94 the other day. Water levels are low. The water at times in different areas is, not maybe like half stained, 3/4 stained. And then in other areas where the creeks come in, maybe the Monocacy you'll find, or the Goose Creek you'll find, a lot more muddier areas there as it empties in, as these little creeks empty in, or rivers empty into the Potomac. And you can also find some clearer water. Usually for me, it's on the other side of the island or the other side of the rocks in the middle of the river. Okay, so you can wade out and fish on the rocks. You can kayak out to the rocks, anchor at the rock, and fish on the backside very effectively. And so right now, the basic, easy, if you're wade fishing or kayak fishing, you don't need to take a lot of weight. You don't need, I do recommend, though, if you're wade fishing, you might want to take a small trout net, or something like that. I use a broken twig landing net myself, either kayaking or wading. I just attach it to my backpack on my back if I'm wade fishing. It can save you a lot of issues. in the water in the Potomac or anything with a rockier bottom with these smallies, because these smallies are going to fight all the way. They're going to fight all the way to you. And so I recommend that, though it's not necessary. But, you go out with like 5 or 6 baits. I mean, that's the best recommendation I give people about river fishing, especially people that are used to fishing lakes and impoundments and reservoirs where they take literally their whole tackle compilation because they're just not sure what they want to fish with, right? When you go river fishing, especially wade fishing, just dial it down. Like take less and then learn those baits, how they react in the water, how they react through rock, through some vegetation or no vegetation, depending on where you are on the river. Learn that. Learn those baits. That's the best way. Instead of taking 100 baits, carrying them all day long, and you end up only using 6 or 8 anyway. Your confidence baits, right? It's an amazing thing about the mindset of anglers is they have about a dozen confidence baits that they'll only throw, but they'll take with them everything, okay? Right? Just in case. Just in case what? Right? I mean, that's what you have to ask yourself. You have called confidence baits for a reason. And so what I recommend and what I do a lot of times, I'll go out and not take any of my confidence baits because the river is so close to me. I can hit the river and be on the river in 15 minutes. Okay? I can go anytime I want for an hour or 5 hours or 8 hours, right? So a lot of times I will take baits, especially custom baits that I get from other custom bait makers that want to have their baits tried out or want my feedback on their baits, or we swap baits. I'll just go to the river and I'll throw baits that I have no knowledge of, no confidence in. Learn how the bait acts in the water, see how the fish react to it, see what we're getting, see how everything works. Is it better for a bait caster, better for a spinning rod, what line? All these things, it's an educational experience. And you're out on the river, so it's a great day. But right now, I'm seeing that's highly effective are these smaller jigs, lighter weight jigs. These are hair jigs. These are awesome, okay? Awesome for smallies. And it don't matter whether it's the Upper Potomac or the Shenandoah or the New River, okay? Smallies like this smaller, lighter, looks like insects. If you drop these under fallen, hanging over trees, they mimic insects falling on top of the water off of tree branches, right? Or just anything else. So this is 2 colors that I really like. And then I also like this chartreuse hair jig, okay? It's got some gold in it. These are phenomenal smallie catchers in the Upper Potomac and the Susky, by the way. And so, but if that's not your poison, right, and you're a crankbait fisherman, downsize. So what I noticed the other day when I was out is I switched up and crankbaits that are of the low under 2 inches, okay? Now, I noticed if you watch a video, saw that video on TikTok or Instagram where I found all the crawl on the bottom composition of the Upper Potomac, which is a good sign. That's what they're feeding off of. So I make sure that I always take either a square bill or a diver, depending on what the weight the water is. Now, I would not take this one today when I go out. I will take its brother, which is a square bill. Okay? I would take this one. All right? Both of these baits are effective in different depths of water. This one won't be nearly as effective, okay, under 4 feet of water, okay? This one's a lot more effective, all right, especially at 2 feet of water. And it's going to hit the rocks, but it's very durable, very well made, awesome smallie catcher, okay? Both Susky and Upper Potomac, by the way. Now, if that crawl isn't prevalent, and it's not in all areas, okay, then you have to look for the other forage. And that's when I'll go with more of a standard pattern. Okay? Again, square bill, smaller crankbait, tight wobble, thump in the water, let current do the work, rip it, let it move, let it make its noise, let it do its thing. Okay? Now, even though this bait is obviously a year-round bait, okay? I love it in the fall, actually, and in the winter. But summer rut, far too many people sleep on the tube. Okay? Especially in rivers. I don't know why. I think it's a product, sort of like product of the Ned rig mentality of a lot of people don't like to fish. They see that as slow finesse or slower fishing. They want to power fish all the time, which, it's just a matter of preference. But there's so many different ways you can run the tube. And you just have to Google it, figure out. I mean, there's just so many. I prefer to run it with a jig head all the way through, pop out the eyelet. You can get a VMC tube jig, pretty cheap. As far as tackle goes, it'll run that. It's a long, thinner weight. It'll run straight in here, but you can shove a Z-Man. You can shove any jigs in there. You just got to work it through. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll heat up. My custom is a custom tube, by the way. I'll heat them up. I'll heat the jigs up to make the plastic, just a little bit, to make the plastics a little bit more stretchy, and then throw in the jig. And then pull it through, pop it. Okay. You can also, once you do that, you can also do any number of presentations. You can actually add, if you have access to custom, custom bait maker, you can get online too, at Barlow's Tackle, any place like that. As if you were actually going to make a spinnerbait. You can get all the stuff that you need, okay? And then you can create a spin tube, okay? So where you can just create a small spin tube, like a spinnerbait, okay? That works great. So that's segue to spinnerbaits, okay? Because I'm still going to take a spinnerbait out with me today, okay? Always do it. Because you never know, okay? But for me on the Potomac and the Susky doesn't nearly get as, because Susky's so wide. And so it's a different beast than the Upper Potomac is. The Upper Potomac is more narrow. The composition's a little bit different. So you do get some ripples and ledges and all of that stuff like Susky has, but it's just a little different profile. And so I like to use the spinnerbait around south of those areas coming down. And one of the most effective spinnerbaits for me on the Upper Potomac has been this smaller compact spinnerbait. You obviously can change these out to Colorado from Willow. You can change out depending whatever your preference is. I like this color. I think has been extremely effective because the river's been a lot more stained than say if I wouldn't throw this on in a clear river or clear impoundment reservoir, okay? It works a lot better in Monocacy and the Upper Potomac for me. Conowingo, when the water is just stained up. A darker color. It's just a phenomenal little spinnerbait. I mean, that's all I have to tell you. It's custom. And I kind of do I know the wisdom of most people. I'm a contrarian person. I usually try my best not to do what everybody else is doing. It's same as if you follow me on my crypto channels. I'm a huge cryptologist. I'm a huge blockchain guy. I know most people aren't. Most people could care less. I totally get it. But I'm not a conformist when it comes to a lot of things. I'm very contrarian and open-minded about stuff. So when someone tells me that I shouldn't do something like that or that's not going to work, I want to find out on my own if it's going to work. And so with a lot of these here, you'll see on my spinnerbaits, I will put there so I can actually put the swivel on there. And when you're wade fishing, I know a lot of people hate that, anything on spinnerbaits or crankbaits, using the swivel. I get it. But if you do that when you're wade fishing, it just makes it a lot easier to change your baits out. It just does. I mean, even in a kayak, if you're on the river and you're like your head's on a swivel, okay, because of everything that's happening, you want to be able to just change your baits out really quickly. The swivel does that, okay? Does it keep you from catching more fish? I don't know. This has been my experience. I catch about the same amount of fish every time I go out, and some days it's really great, and other days, and it really all depends. I don't really think it's the swivel. And so I don't get those arguments, so I don't really buy into all those. The second spinnerbait that I'll use when I go out is this pattern right here, okay? So my favorite pattern. I also have a crankbait that's done exactly like we painted exactly like this spinnerbait, just for a different presentation, but the same pattern, okay, of this particular spinnerbait. So both of these have been highly effective on both the Upper Potomac and the Susquehanna for the same reasons, I think. This one's for stained water. This one's for lighter, you know, you can use this for clearer water too as well, because it mimics shiners, minnows, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, that smallways and largemouth actually are going to be attracted to for an easy meal. So that's just a quick update on the baits that I talked about. You can go to YouTube and watch the Pennyfield Lock video, which is a great place to wade fish, as well as Swain's Lock on the Upper Potomac. You can get on the water. You can do all those things very easily with your kayak. There's even some banking areas where you could bank fish actually in a lot of those areas. So please like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed to YouTube, or come and follow on TikTok. You get updated videos as we are out on the river. All right, mates.